Hi, I'm Ellie Bladen, and I'm a member of the crew bringing you content from the Festival of Nature. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, today I am delighted to be joined as well by Dr. Ralph Thompson from Bath Spa University to chat about green campuses and an exciting new conservation undergraduate degree. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ralph.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I have been reading all about Bath Spa's new undergraduate degree in wildlife conservation, and it just sounds so exciting. And I'm sure there are people who are listening who are currently trying to decide on a uni to, go do their undergrad at. And these days there is a sort of dizzying array of different courses to choose from. What do you think makes this course at Bath Spa so special?
Well, I think one of the things is that it's really focused on a particular mission of what we want to achieve, or what the students and the graduates that they become will want to achieve in terms of conserving wildlife, learning about wildlife, but then also learning about how you can interact with people to make a change. So we're rooted in biology and the understanding of ecology and of wildlife, but then also with branches in other areas of study, including particularly creative areas. So Bath Spa has a real history of creative teaching and teaching within the creative subjects, but also within science, we want to bring in that creativity so that people learn to be innovative and think of novel ways of approaching things, including conservation. So overall, it's building a set of skills that includes the analytic skills of science and also the creative skills that are perhaps more commonly developed in other areas, so that we have graduates who are able to put all those things together to be successful and also hopefully to have a good time while they are studying. And another thing is just about the location that we have at Bath Spa. Newton Park campus, which is our main campus, is a really great place to study wildlife because it's in the countryside in Somerset and it's surrounded by nature.
So, starting a whole new course, planning a brand new course sounds like a big job. How do you even start doing that? How did you decide how to structure this course?
So one of the things was looking at other courses elsewhere. So what worked in terms of what modules they have, looking at how they develop the skills throughout the years of study and what kind of things they are including, but also wanting to be a bit different, to make it a Bath Spa version of a wildlife conservation course with this focus on using our strengths in creativity, in being in the location that we have, and in being a relatively small to medium-sized university, so that we have a close relationship between the staff and the students and we're able to get that kind of feedback. So we included students within the design team, so a couple of our current students, so they could tell us what they would like to study. So students who are currently studying biology, doing some of the related topics. So we get their perspective as well as the academic perspective. We have an external academic on the design team as well, from Hong Kong. And then we also have industry influence, industry people with experience of employing graduates. So from the wildlife trusts, and also I talked to some people in the more creative side of wildlife communication, like Lindsay Chapman, to get that idea of what would prepare our graduates not just for, say, being an ecologist, an ecological consultant, but for any of the very wide variety of careers they might have in wildlife conservation.
Yeah, I really love the emphasis actually on careers, because obviously it's really important to have a good time, but I know conservation is a difficult area to get a job in. So it feels like you're preparing people really well for that. What kind of careers do you expect to see your graduates going into? Like what will it prepare them for?
I think it's true that there are there's a lot of competition for a lot of the conservation jobs, so getting practical experience is really important. So we'll be supporting our students in getting extra experience beyond the beyond what they're taught. So we have placements that they can go on. They can do a sandwich year placement between the second and third year of study. But also I wanted to prepare them for the big range of roles, because working in wildlife conservation isn't only about fieldwork. Some people will be doing fieldwork, some people will be working, say, with NGOs in public communication or in education. So we have modules that students can take from environmental education. We have politics modules and philosophy modules, so they can get a big range. But also there may be students who come to study wildlife conservation and end up using the skills that they develop in a slightly different area. So there's a lot of focus on transferable skills, so that kind of analytic, creative skills, the communication skills that we think be really important in almost any job, and particularly skills that are becoming more in demand, things like understanding data. So science students are very much in demand, not necessarily because they know specific scientific processes, but because they know how to deal with data, to deal with uncertainty.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of thing you see time and time again when you look at job application, job interviews. They always want good data these days for sort of conservation scientists. So it's really important. And you mentioned a sandwich year there, and that sounds quite rare to include in an undergrad degree, but I love the idea of that. I mean, I know this is a brand new course, but what kind of sandwich years do you foresee students going into?
So we have some students who do them locally. So we have, for example, local ecological consultants. They go do a year of carrying out surveys, so they're getting a lot of in-depth field experience. But then, because it's a year out of the study, there are very few limits on where you can go or what you can do. So we have, unfortunately, weren't able to go, but we had students who were planning recently to go abroad to work with bears in America, or to we're also developing links, particularly with Namibia. So 3 of our lecturers are going to go out to Namibia when we're able to go out there, to the University of Namibia, and also hopefully to see some NGOs. So there may be possibilities there. And students can develop their own or find their own placements together with our placement team in the careers department that really matches their interests and what they think will be useful for them in their future career. We actually have some students who then go back to work with their the companies that they do their placement on graduation. So that really has helped them get started in their career.
That's great. And it sounds like a much less scary version of doing networking, right? Because you're actually working with the people, you get a chance to see whether you like the job as well. You might have an idea in your mind and it's different in practice. So that sounds like a brilliant opportunity. I mean, I feel like I've been sold now on the degree, but Bath Spa itself, now I know that you have a lot of kind of green campus initiatives. Can you tell me a bit more about how you kind of encourage biodiversity on the campus?
Yeah, so we have a biodiversity action plan run by the estates team, and there are many different aspects to that, from the management of when you cut the grass to encourage the flowers. We've got bird boxes all over the campus and bat boxes to give homes to many different species if they happen to come onto campus. We have a student-run project called the Hedgehog Friendly Campus, which a lot of universities are getting involved in. So we've put out hedgehog houses and looking at the management and any removing or reducing any potential threats to the hedgehogs. We are managing the lake that we have on campus to maintain that as a good environment. We have monitoring schemes for some of the rare animals like the great crested newts that we have and the lesser horseshoe bats. So we have a bat roost in one of the buildings just next to where our biology labs are, of lesser horseshoes, in a grade 1 building. We're actually building a little zoology museum in there as well, so we'll be able to collect the things that we find on campus and show them off. So I think a part of the protection and promotion of the biodiversity is also to celebrate it and to get everyone to know what's there and to really enjoy it, which we hope to do across all the different subjects with our students and staff, as well as the ones who have their particular focus in wildlife conservation.
Okay, that's great. So it sounds like students can really get stuck in on those like biodiversity initiatives on campus. And it kind of like relates to another thing that I noticed about the course actually, which was how much you're bringing the creative side of students as an important part of the Bachelor of Science. I mean, you're an artist yourself, I believe. Does this influence the way that you do science and the way that you approach your teaching?
Yeah, so I think although art and science are often seen as opposites, the process of being an artist and being a scientist are actually quite similar, because they're about experimentation and trying things out and seeing what happens. So I think there's a lot of kind of soft transferable learning that you can do in one that informs the other. So for me, if I guess from doing a painting or making a sculpture, one thing that you learn is to kind of have faith in the process of what you're doing, that you don't know what it's going to look like in the end. You're just working through it and discovering what it becomes. And that's kind of what science is like as well. You're starting with an area that you want to work in, but it's actually quite important that you don't know what you want to find out, because you're open-minded and you're looking to see what you find. So that's something that I think would be nice to encourage in our students. And I've built a particular module within the new degree called the Wild Muse, where we're going to really encourage the students just to do something different, to try something out, see what happens. And in doing that, also to look at different ways of communicating about the natural world or about conservation or wildlife, and perhaps reflect on their own feelings about nature. Because one of the things that can be a bit difficult about studying conservation is a slight pessimism of all the species loss, decline, populations and so on. So I think in terms of the kind of mental health of the students, it'd be good to have that creative element as well, to reflect on what they're thinking. And of course, now there are more positive projects surrounding conservation than perhaps a few years ago, with rewilding and more habitat creation. But I think still it's important to reflect on how we feel about nature, as well as what we know about it.
So for students thinking of applying for this course, do they already have to be artistic? You know, how do they have to already be in touch with their creative side, or is it something that you're able to kind of nurture in people who are open to it, I guess?
Not at all. So anyone can create something. It's not necessarily about having technical skill in painting or drawing or sculpture. It's just about trying to make something and seeing what happens, and seeing how that can reflect experiences and how other people respond to it. Because being able to communicate with people in a more kind of emotional, effective way, I think is a really important part of getting people to engage with nature and care about nature. And in order to achieve conservation goals, really, we need people to care, and that any different way that we have of engaging them can be really useful. So it will be really open. People might write a song, write a poem, do a little play as a group. So it's not necessarily that you need to be able to do one particular thing.
I love that so much. I think it's absolutely, I mean, one thing that Festival of Nature has kind of shown me is how much as scientists we can grow through incorporating, you know, arts and humanities in our work. So I love that you're kind of installing that from, you know, the start of these young people's careers, really. I mean, we've sort of looked at it a lot from the perspective of the student, but if there's a sort of an academic listening to this thinking like, oh, actually, this is something that I want to get involved with, you do actually currently have an opening for a lecturer in the in wildlife ecology and conservation to join your team, and particularly to support this degree. So to them, why would you recommend Bath Spa, the School of Science especially? You know, what's in it for them, and what kind of person are you looking for?
Yeah, we do. It's a really exciting opportunity for someone, I think. And a lot of it is the same as the things that would attract students. And certainly one of the things that really attracted me to Bath Spa was the campus. When I came for my interview and had a look around, it is just such a beautiful place to be. And often at the end of the day, I don't really want to leave and go home. I just want to go for a walk around the campus and enjoy enjoy being there, because it's like being on a national trust estate, or somewhere that you go to relax. So there's that relaxed atmosphere and a very friendly atmosphere, both between the staff and students and among the staff as well. So a really nice team, particularly in the biology subject area.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to also say that because it's a new degree, it's an opportunity to really have an impact on how that develops.
I mean, so if someone's interested, where should they go? If they just Google Bath Spa lecturer jobs, that should take them to the right place?
Yeah, if you go to the Bath Spa website, look on the jobs there, or it's also on jobs.ac.uk for the main website for academic jobs.
Brilliant. And if people wanted to find out more about the new BSc in wildlife conservation as a student, that is also, I've seen the website. It's a great website. You'll find out a lot about it on the Bath Spa site. So I would definitely encourage anyone who's thinking about it to go and check that out. But unfortunately, we have, oh no, go ahead.
So just also, if you want to see some more pictures, there's the Instagram at Bath Spa Wild you can follow.
Yes, I followed that. It is great. You get a real insight into what you get up to on the course and see some of your lovely campus at the same time. But I know that unfortunately we've got to finish now. We've run out of time, but I'm sure you're going to get a load of interest in the course, Ralph. And it really does make me want to go back to being an undergrad and just ditch my PhD, but unfortunately not. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you also to everyone watching. So this is the last day of this year's Festival of Nature, but there are still lots more events from earlier in the week on YouTube and lots still coming up today. So make sure you check that out. You can head over to festivalofnature.org.uk and find out more. And if you're enjoying the festival, let us know on social media. We're at Fest of Nature on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can use the hashtag FestofNature21 to make sure that we see it. Thank you so much for joining in.